Blossom here. So today I'm going to show you one of my favorite tea cakes. It's with a little twist, but I love making this cake. This is not my own recipe. I found it on a website, but that website does not work anymore, so I can't tell you the name of the website. But it's a coffee cashew nut cake, and it's actually a vanilla cake with coffee and nuts in between the two layers of the cake. You'll see what I'm talking about once it's done. And let's start with the recipe. So I have 50 grams of cashew nuts here, cut into small pieces. This can be cut however you want. I've chopped it in bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to roast it slightly on a very low heat for like 2 minutes. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I don't like the taste of raw cashew nuts, so that's why I always prefer to roast these cashew nuts. So I've crushed some cookies. You can take any biscuit of your choice, and it weighs 100 grams, and to that I'm going to add the cashew nuts that were roasted, 50 grams of that, and to this I'm going to add 50 grams of brown sugar. If you do not have brown sugar, it's okay. Mix it all together. I'm doing it with my hands on purpose because we're going to add butter after this, and this is the best part of this cake, and the crunch, the taste, it's amazing. So don't skip this part. Next we're going to add 1 teaspoon of instant coffee powder. Mix that in as well. This is where the coffee part to the cake comes in. We're not going to add coffee to the batter of the cake. I've washed my hands just in case you're wondering. Now to this I'm going to add 50 grams of cold butter and mix it all in till it comes together. Once you mix the butter together with this biscuit crumbs and all the other ingredients, it should resemble sea sand, and when you hold it together it should form a shape. That's when you'll know that you mixed it well. Now why I said it should be cold butter, if it's room temperature butter, with the heat of your hands it'll just melt and then it'll become a big slurry and it won't be a cookie crumble. So that's why I said cold butter. You can't do this with the machine. If you do it with the beater, what will happen is these bits of cashew nut and biscuits will just get caught in the beater blades, and then it's a big mess. And anyways, you have to use the beater to beat the cake or whip up the cake batter, so don't use the beater. Hands are the best here. It's holding its shape, that means it's done. Now what you do is, while you make the cake batter, keep this in the fridge, and then we'll continue with the recipe. In this bowl, I've taken 100 grams of sugar. It's caster sugar. If your sugar is bigger granules, please powder it in your mixie jar and then put it. Then I've got 150 grams of butter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just whisk this till the sugar and the butter gets combined. The butter should be in room temperature. Here it's pretty cold, so however long we keep it, it does not actually come to soft stage. So I'll have to beat it a little longer. So while you're beating the butter and sugar together, just take a spatula and just scrape it off the sides and then continue beating. Otherwise what will happen, some butter or some of the sugar might not mix with it, and then the cake batter might not be a very good texture. You don't have to beat it for like 5-10 minutes. It's not buttercream. All you have to do is just mix it maybe for 1 minute or 1.5 minutes maximum, and that's it. So as you can see, it has come together, but because the temperature is a little cold right now, it will take longer. But what I've noticed is as soon as I add the eggs one after the other, it comes together quicker. And now I'm going to add 1 egg at a time. We need to add 2 large eggs. So the large eggs, the weight should be around 100 grams without the shell. I'm breaking the egg yolk and then I'll whisk it again till it comes together, maybe for 30 seconds or so. I'm going to add the next egg, break it up. So now if you see, the butter has kind of separated. It's not coming together. It happens mostly all the time when you mix butter and sugar and eggs together. They kind of curdle, and if that happens, all you have to do is take the flour that you had measured for the cake, take a teaspoon of the flour and just put it into the egg mixture and then beat it. Then it comes together. And just mixing it like this and give it another whisk. And just like that, the curdling has not completely gone, because you can't beat the flour too much because there'll be a lot of gluten then forming. Just a little bit. This actually does not affect the texture of the cake, but if in case you get scared and you're baking it for the first time, it happens. This is just a trick. To this, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. And if you have butter essence, you can add that too. So it comes in a small ampule like this. This is very concentrated, so that's why it comes in ampules like this. So this is the essence we get over here. If you don't get it, it's okay. Vanilla essence is enough, and you just put 2 drops. That's it. If you put too much of it also, it's very potent. Mix it all together. I've got 200 grams of flour here, preferably cake flour, but if you do not have cake flour, you can always take all-purpose flour. Take 2 tablespoons of flour out of that, 200 grams, and add 2 tablespoons of corn flour or corn starch to replace it. So I have cake flour here, so I'm not using that method. To the cake flour, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and I will sieve it, and then I'll come back to you. To the whipped up butter and egg and sugar mixture, I'm going to add quarter of the flour that we had sieved and gently mix this in. Now here it's not a very runny batter as of right now because we're going to add yogurt to the end of it. I'm going to add the next 1/3 of the flour. Mix this. Now if you can see, it's a little thick. Don't worry, it'll all come together. Then I've added the last part of the flour. Now why I didn't add all the flour together is because it would have been very difficult to mix it all in. So this is how I do this. I add the flour in batches. You can add it in 3 batches or 4 batches, it's up to you. Scrape the sides of the bowl. Now as you can see, it's all come together, but it's thick. Now to make it like batter like consistency, you have to take yogurt. This is 150 grams of yogurt or curd. You can use homemade curd, doesn't matter, but it shouldn't have a lot of whey in it or water in the yogurt. It should be on the thicker side, and also it shouldn't be very sour. Just make it a smooth paste before adding it. Just break it with a spoon actually, and it will be okay. And then add it to this batter. I'm adding it. So while all this is going on, please do not forget to preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. So before you could start all this, preheat your oven. So by the time the cake batter is ready, 10 minutes have passed and you're good to go. Please do not try to mix this part with the machine because you'll over mix it. So that's it. It's kind of a thick batter. See, it's not in dropping consistency. So I would suggest to add a tablespoon of milk to loosen it. Every flour is different and it changes with the season also. So I can't say add exactly 2 tablespoons and you're good to go. You have to see the consistency. I'll show you. See, it's still not flowing. It's just like dropping off. So add another tablespoon. If the yogurt has more water in it, then you might not even need to add milk. Now, if you can see the batter, it's not very thick. It's not the normal cake batter, but it's easier for you to mix in. See, it's falling like that. That's when you stop. Don't overmix after this. Just bring everything together. And now comes the fun part. So now I've prepped this cake tin. I'm actually making 2 cakes with this batter. You can actually put it in one 8-inch cake tin and you're good to go. But I want to give this to one of my friends. So I'm making 2, one for the family and one for my friend. Normally I don't line the sides or the edges of this tin. If you have a spring bottom or the bottom that comes off of a cake tin, that is preferred. But I don't have that size small tin. So what I've done is I've just put parchment paper and stuck it all around, as well as the bottom of it. And to that I'm going to add the crumbs that we had made earlier. I don't drink coffee, but I love this cake. It's just 1 teaspoon, but it adds a very beautiful taste to it. We just add the batter to it. Now if it was a very loose batter, what would have happened is the batter would have seeped through. That's why we are making this batters on the thicker side. Try to make it as even as possible, and then you add a second layer of this biscuit mixture, and then add the second layer of the cake batter. Spread it evenly around. So now we have in this tin alternate layers of biscuit batter. So that's how it is. So now I'll fill the other tin and we'll put it in the oven, bake it, and then I'll show you the end product. I've taken the cake from the oven. It's still pretty hot. I let it cool for 10 minutes out of the oven and now it's warm, but I'm still taking it out because what will happen is if it stays in the tin, the moisture will form and the base that we had put, the biscuit base, will all get moist. It'll get soggy. So this is the cake. I know you can't see the layers. If you can see, it's very soft. I like to eat the cake when it's hot. I'm going to slice through. So this cake is having lesser filling. The other cake that I have to give my friend has more filling. So that's why the separation is not that much. If you put a thicker layer, you can see it. And the cake is so soft and moist that if I press a little extra, it might break. I would not suggest you to bake it on a very small tin, because what happens is the baking time increases and then this happens. The burn happens on the top. So if you do not want this to happen, I would suggest you to bake it in an 8-inch tin and bake it at 180 degrees Celsius for 40 minutes. After 30 minutes, just check whether it is baked. So this is it, guys. Enjoy this tea cake and please do let me know in the comments below how you liked it. Until next time, bye.